And welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance, and Happy New Year and welcome to 2024. I hope everybody enjoyed their holidays and enjoyed the Christmas season. And and we're ready. I mean, this is the first podcast of 2024. I always love kicking it off with something great, and I am so excited about talking about this, but I just want to bring up something quickly. Our next mental health series with Collectively Tangled is scrolling along the bottom. The Thriving Minds is January 18th. It's about financial friction. Obviously, we all worry about finances, so the link will be up in the comments section shortly. But again, please click on it. It's free for any entrepreneurs, whether you're a tech, a brick and mortar, you own a coffee shop. Come out, meet like-minded people. But now, here we are, the legendary Kevin Dahl. KD, as everybody knows him. How are you?
Oh, legendary. That's you're setting the bar pretty high there, Jade. But I'm doing fantastic. Hopefully you had a fantastic New Year as well.
It was it was an awesome New Year's. It was nice and relaxing. We didn't do a whole lot, and that's what makes it fun sometimes, just hanging out with family and taking in probably about 80 to 90,000 calories over those 3 or 4 days.
Yep, I hear that.
Oh, but that's what makes it fun. I want to again. I know we only have a half an hour to talk about what we want to get into, and you and I obviously have a long history together, a cherished friendship. I mean, even after we sold Nathan's, I was talking to you, and you were like the driving force behind Peer Guidance. You loved the idea, so I'm forever grateful for that. And I am extremely excited about this. When you were telling me about it, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what we need. IP strategy. It's just something that we talk about early, but we don't have the funds. We don't do it. Like, God, it could be so costly. And then all of a sudden, boom, here's this government funded, we'll give the feds a big thank you for this. So you know what? Tell me your thoughts on this and how it kind of changes the game before we dive into the program.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Jade, I think back, and I was thinking before we joined here today of when we first met, and I'm pretty sure it was at a Chamber of Commerce event. And I remember, you were kind of hanging around some of the booths that were there, and I was hanging around as well. And you were asking someone a couple questions, and I could tell it was tech related. And then I saw your shoes, and I think you were wearing your emerald blue shoes, and I was like, okay, I got to find out this guy's story. This is, it's been great to be able to call you a friend for several years now, and yeah, thanks for the opportunity to be here. I mean, in terms of ElevateIP Alberta and the ElevateIP federal program, I wish I could claim that I was part of the team, the smart people that brought this to life. But the reality is, I joined kind of midway through last year in July, and but just like you, when I heard about this program, I was immediately intrigued. I've had some run-ins with intellectual property. I say run-ins because some were good, some not so good in my entrepreneurial career, and one of the people who was involved in crafting the program was kind of explaining it to me. And one of the things they mentioned, and one of the things they highlighted, was the fact that, hey, so many entrepreneurs don't invest in IP early on because of the financial barrier. And part of this program is going to remove that barrier and make sure that, IP protection, IP strategy is accessible to entrepreneurs at the right time. And that really struck a chord with me, because that's exactly where I've been in some of my roles earlier on in my career, where we knew we had something we needed to protect, but we just couldn't find the funding. We were always trying to hire another developer, hire a salesperson, and IP just kept getting kicked down the road. And so that was really the exciting thing that got me over the decision to say, hey, I'm going to leave what I'm doing now and jump in and become part of this ElevateIP Alberta team.
Now, you bring up such valuable points there, right? I mean, it's so hard as an entrepreneur to say, I want to spend, even if it's $5,000 for a strategy, up to, hundreds of thousands of dollars to, once you're finished, to get that underway and go. And I'm not going to, say lawyers are bad or anything, but sometimes you just have to spend your money wisely and putting that together, because most of the time you are going to a law firm, and I love the Dentons and the Faskins, and we're going to be partnering with Osler here with Peer Guidance. But it's not a big priority. You just have to kind of be quiet for a little bit and just say, okay, we'll get there when we get there.
Well, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping we will change, is that narrative around IP in Alberta as well. Because, the reality is, for a lot of years, as I was building companies, 15 years ago, it makes me feel old just saying that. But, when I used to think of IP, all I thought about were patents. And there, you're spending a lot of money, and it's actually like a treadmill. Once you get on it, you can't get off. Once you file a provisional, you then need to file a full patent, and then you need to renew it every year. And it becomes this ongoing cost for your business. But the reality is, when you're thinking about IP, you don't need to jump to patents, trademarks, copyrights right away. What you really should be doing is looking inward as an entrepreneur at what you're building and your business, because IP strategy is business strategy. They're intertwined, and anything you're investing in terms of patents, trademarks, copyrights, needs to be tied back to your business, because that's an expensive treadmill you're getting on. So you want to make sure that it's actually valuable to your business. It's going to help you create that differentiator that's going to allow you to go out, raise money, scale your business, and hopefully create those assets that will lead to potentially a higher exit for you.
Oh, absolutely. And a lot of people, I think there's an education that's going to be going on here, not only today, but just throughout the entire ecosystem. When people think, oh my God, IP, I'm thinking, oh, I got to file, right? Like, they don't think about, oh, I need a strategy first. It's like, you don't just start a business. You think about, you put your business plan together, you put whatever you're using, lean canvas or whatever, and you put some thoughts through there. Well, the IP is the same thing, right? It includes your trademarks. It includes a lot of different ththings. So you get your strategy, you put it together, and having Elevate IP there for obviously people who qualify is going to be, in my mind, a game changer. It's going to educate everybody on how to properly do it faster, do it quicker, which is going to potentially, as you said, maybe help. I mean, as an investor, we always ask about IP. We talk about it. Oh yeah, we're in the process. Okay, good. We know that you're going down that road, and we know it's a process. So why don't we kick off with like talking about, how the program, how do you get in? This is up to you. How do you want to go about this? Do you want to say, just start about how do you apply, or do you want to just talk about how it works? Or we can start with how you apply and then into how it works.
So, basically I've got 24 minutes to do just a paid program, spot for Elevate IP. No, obviously kidding.
That's what we're here for.
I'm happy to share a little bit about the program, because we did launch the program. Actually launched just not quite a year ago, but there's been a lot of changes, because when we launched, there was a pilot program that we kind of kicked off with. We wanted to learn, we wanted to understand, where are entrepreneurs at, where's the ecosystem at in Alberta when it comes to thinking about IP, and we've made a lot of changes over the last year, and we're just now kind of moving and morphing the program into the full program, which is now, applications opened in the fall last year, and my team is working hard to process applications that have come through there. But yeah, so I'm happy to give a quick overview. Maybe,
Yeah.
I'll keep it brief. I know this isn't an infomercial on Elevate IP.
More of you, less of me.
Well, so the really cool thing about Elevate IP, as I alluded to earlier, is it's Elevate IP as a program is a federal initiative, and Elevate IP Alberta is one of 5 recipients across Canada that is delivering this program on behalf of the federal government. So each one of the groups that is running the program has been tasked with making it fit and making it work for our ecosystem. Because as you can imagine, an entrepreneur building a startup in downtown Toronto is going to get very different advice than an entrepreneur building a startup in downtown Red Deer, or even Edmonton and Calgary, our large cities in Alberta. Our ecosystem just isn't as mature as places like Ontario, Toronto, or Vancouver, and down as we get into the States, some of those ecosystems where there's more knowledge, there's more people that have done it, that have experienced it and understand it. So, here in Alberta, Elevate IP Alberta is run by Innovate Calgary and Economic Development Lethbridge. So it's a partnership, and we are running this program and trying to ensure that every entrepreneur across the province, not just the major cities, has access to our program and has access to learn and kind of elevate, pun intended, their intellectual property literacy. So the program itself is broken into 3 pillars. The first one is really focused on ecosystem capacity building. We're working with accelerators, incubators, entrepreneur support organizations, investors, law firms, consultants all across the province to try to bring together like-minded people to talk about intellectual property and understand where the gaps. So that's kind of pillar one. But pillar 2 and 3 are where most of the time entrepreneurs really want to talk to me and talk to my team about, because that's where we have funding dollars to help support. So in pillar 2 or stream 2, depending on what terminology you want to use, that's where we're focused on intellectual property strategy. So this is where we can, and again, you can go to our website, which I'm sure you'll throw some links up after or during at some point. You can go there, you can get your application started. If you meet our application criteria, then we have funding to help you get an IP strategy professionally developed for your business. And my vision for the program is that we will work with 400 plus entrepreneurs to help them build strong, professionally developed IP strategies. And I say professionally developed because there's a lot of work you can do yourself as an entrepreneur. But I almost describe intellectual property the same way I think about and describe for entrepreneurs how you should think about SHRED. So I'm trying to remember what SHRED stands for now. Scientific Research and Experimental Development Credits. I believe that's the program. But for those of you who aren't aware, this is a program that allows you to, it's not my program, it's another federal program, but for every dollar you're investing in R&D to develop new technologies, the federal government's going to give you credits back. Now, you can do it yourself, but as a founder, you've got so many other competing priorities, so you probably shouldn't. But you need to understand it so that you can hire the right company who gets what you're doing, and they can then take care of your SHRED for you. And IP strategy is the same way. You should learn and empower yourself to understand, like, what is a strategy? How does it relate to my business? But you should then go out and hire a professional who will take it to completion. They will go out, they will do the landscape surveys, they'll do the market intelligence, they'll understand who else is out there, what do you need to be aware of, and they'll bring that back and help create something actionable for you. So that stream 2, that pillar 2 funding, we can cover up to $15,000 on behalf of the entrepreneur to get that built. And that should remove the barrier for getting those IP strategies built. Once you've got a strategy, then you can come back to our program and you can unlock up to a total combined $100,000 of funding to then go and protect your IP and implement your IP strategy based on what that strategy says. So if your IP strategy says you should be filing a patent immediately because you've got something you need to protect, you can come back, we can help you cover those costs to get that patent in place. If your IP strategy says, hey, you know what, you shouldn't be taking any steps right now other than keeping a trade secret, and you need to ensure you've got the proper assignment of IP, NDAs and all the tools that you need to keep a trade secret, then hey, we can also help with that. So it really is based on what that IP strategy says. But the good news is, we have that up to $100,000 maximum that we can help support entrepreneurs. I will note that the implementation funding, the funding beyond the IP strategy, is competitive. And I think that my vision for the program is we will probably work with about 100 companies. So about 25% of the companies that we help support with strategies will then be able to tap into the full funding. So that's kind of how the program works in terms of the 3 different pillars or streams. But coming back to that first stream, this is the thing that gets me really excited, is that in addition to the funding, we are also trying to create more capacity in the ecosystem. And so my team and I are partnering with accelerators, incubators, and entrepreneur support organizations across the province to understand what they're doing to support early stage entrepreneurs. And our goal is to help support them as well. So we've got a lot of education, workshops, IP awareness, all sorts of things that we're going to be doing here in 2024. And I think it's really going to help contribute to that conversation around intellectual property.
No, and for anybody that wants to, that is listening now or watching later, the ElevateIP website is in the comments section. Just click on it; it'll take you directly there. I want to, I mean, there's a couple points I just want to quickly expand on. And I totally agree. And not only your IP strategy, but when you're talking about, because it is a grant and things like that, there are great people out there like Denise Barrel and many, many others that will be able to put together an entire strategy for you, for walking through your grants moving forward. And of course, the IP strategy will be part of that. And I believe, I mean, everybody, whether you get to a patent section or not, that, which might be, a year, 2 years down the road, just understanding that process and understanding what you need to do to move forward is very, very important. And I think that is something, and I love the fact that you need at first when I kind of read it saying, oh, you needed a letter from an accelerator, things, I was like, oh, shoot, like, that might knock out some people that aren't in tech and things like that, even though, we play in that world too. But I think that education is going to be such an important part because people just don't understand right now.
Well, and I think, the comment you just made about the referral letter is something that I've looked at as well, because I'm an entrepreneur, and I think once you're an entrepreneur, you're always an entrepreneur, even though you might not be building a startup today. I feel like, I got a lot of gray in my beard, although it seems like this lighting is hiding it pretty well.
Or maybe maybe mine is overshadowing yours. I don't know.
The color balance is adjusting accordingly. But no, I'm probably going to build another company, before I hang up the hat and sail off into retirement, which is still a ways down the road. But I think the thing about our program is that we do not have capacity. We're a very small team. I've got 5 core team members, including myself, on the ElevateIP Alberta team. And we just don't have capacity to provide that business advice and coaching. And so that's why we wanted to partner with the accelerators, incubators, and entrepreneur support organizations, because they do. And I'll use Platform Calgary just because I'm here in Calgary right now. And, I've worked at Platform. I love Platform. They have people who can help entrepreneurs think about their business and understand the business model and how they're going to create value. And if you're not thinking about that along with your IP, then you're missing everything that we're trying to do here. So, we wanted those referral letters as a way to keep the accelerators and incubators engaged. And we are using a broad definition there. So, I know some organizations support entrepreneurs, but they don't call themselves an incubator or an accelerator. As long as those organizations provide that business advice and coaching, then we can work with them through the ElevateIP program, and they can refer companies into us. And the other reason why we wanted that referral letter is we do, as I mentioned earlier, have a lot of educational workshop types of programs that we are hoping to be delivering with those accelerators and incubators in partnership with them, and trying to integrate more of this IP conversation into the programs that we're running. So it really creates this tight working relationship between myself and our team and the community out there that's supporting entrepreneurs today. Because, entrepreneurial journey, it's not a start to finish straight line. There's, a lot of loops. There's, 5 steps forward, 6 steps back, and then continuing. And so we want to make sure that these entrepreneurs that are getting support from us have another organization that's going to support them on the broader journey that they're on. Because our piece, I feel like, intellectual property, once you start, it does kind of follow you through the rest of that journey. Our engagement with the entrepreneurs is likely not going to last over the next 3 years, right? We're going to work with them. We're going to help them with some targeted support today. And then they're going to go off and they're going to continue working with the law firm or a consultant and the other organizations in Alberta. So, I really love, and again, I wish I could take credit for the architecting of this program, because I think it was really smart. It doesn't create this island where entrepreneurs come and talk to us and they're not engaged, and they stop engaging with the rest of the community. It's all about ElevateIP Alberta being part of the community and working in collaboration with everybody who is supporting entrepreneurs. Because as we all know, it takes a village, right?
Oh, and God, I'm over 300 episodes, and I've said this probably over 300 times, right? We are so collaborative here. Everybody works together, and that letter is not going to stop people from, from getting it and doing business and things along those lines. But you are right about one thing, is that well, you're right about a lot of things, but right now, one thing is that, when we do, and I mean, I speak at Platform and Help, and we're fans and in Edmonton Unlimited and everybody around the province, is that you don't see a lot of IP stuff that was out there. Trevor Prentice was probably one of the earliest people that I ever met that was really focusing on IP, and I relied on him a lot in the early days of Peer Guidance's time to kind of really educate me on how that works. And now now there's lots of people out there like Neeraj and working with some law firms and Michael and, Grantmyre and Osler and Jacob. It's, I've been in education, but I don't see still a lot of that at the grassroots level. Maybe it's kind of, everything's so focused on business development, sales, which should be. But again, I think this is just another layer that is going to make, kind of complete the circle. This is, in my opinion, the greatest plan that has come to Alberta entrepreneurs ever. I'm just going to state that because everybody forgets about IP.
Well, and as much as I drink the IP Kool-Aid every day and have since July, I think it's important to also highlight that intellectual property isn't the be-all, end-all that's going to make a company, right? So it's IP is a really important building block to a strong startup, but how that IP is used and how it creates value with your target customer audience in your market, with the landscape of other competitors, that's where the magic happens. And so, I oftentimes catch myself, I can get on a rant about intellectual property and talk for a very long time. But I always like to remind, if I'm speaking to entrepreneurs, that just getting a patent or protecting your IP in any way that makes sense, that's not the end state. That is something that's a building block for you to grow and scale your business on. But there's many other building blocks that you need to think about as well. But again, to your point, I think a lot of other, like, product market fit gets talked about all the time in terms of entrepreneur coaching and how you build a business. And I think that intellectual property hasn't been as sexy to talk about. And hopefully, our program, other programs, because there are several other programs that can help entrepreneurs, manage some of those costs with intellectual property. Hopefully we can make IP sexy and get the community, the ecosystem in Alberta thinking about it, talking about it more. And I think that's just going to lead to companies that have more ability to go out and scale, because they're not going to hit a brick wall as soon as they look and start selling in the US and immediately they get a cease and desist letter from a competitor saying, hey, we've got some IP in this area, you have to stop selling. Well, wait a minute, if you've got a strong strategy from day one, you'll know and anticipate those competitor moves, and you'll be able to have that counter move in your back pocket ready to go. And so I think it all fits in, like I said, it all ties back into business strategy.
Yeah. And even if you don't need, or even if you can't file a patent, or even there isn't going to be a patent down the road, to find that out early in your IP strategy side of things is very important. So you don't actually waste time, energy, and more importantly, money moving forward on something that is not going to be important.
Absolutely. And we oftentimes, and again, even in this conversation, I keep talking about patents, but patents are, one of the tools that you can use to protect your IP. Trademark, copyright, and just good old trade secrets are other ways to protect it. And I think this is also one of the things that we're doing a little bit different in Alberta. We have a focus on ensuring that we're trying to create equitable access to IP knowledge and to being able to, entrepreneurs to protect their IP. So we are actually targeting and working with several underrepresented founder groups to really understand some of the challenges they are facing when it comes to intellectual property. And I just want to highlight, we are partnering with the CCAB, the Canadian Council for Aboriginal Business, and we've held one roundtable. We've got another one coming up later in this quarter. And what we're hearing from Indigenous founders is that, while some of the Indigenous founders that came to the roundtable are building companies leveraging and that should be leveraging patents, many of them are building businesses that are based on art, music, cultural expressions, traditional knowledge, and these things don't necessarily fit nicely into patentability, whereas trademarks and copyrights can be used to create that protection so that Indigenous founder doesn't have their product, whether it's art, music, or technology, stolen and taken by other companies and used in other places. So that's one of the things that I think is really interesting here in Alberta, is we're not just looking at sort of the tech founders, but what other scalable businesses, what other founders are what are they doing in Alberta, and how can we support them on their IP journey? Because like you said at the very beginning of this point, patents are not the only solution. And even if you have a patent, you should still be thinking about trademarks, because that logo, that slogan, if someone steals those, or someone files that trademark in a jurisdiction outside of Canada, and you next year want to expand your business there, you're going to have problems if someone else has already trademarked your name.
No, absolutely. I haven't trademarked everything. I don't practice what I preach. Just a little guy. I could just say it. Come sue me.
Well, but I imagine your story with Nathan's, right? Like that's a good example of a business that, it's not necessarily, a traditional tech business. I'm sure there was a lot of technology that was used, but that brand, that trademark, that logo, I mean, that's what the strength was, as well as I'm sure there's a secret, the 56 herbs and spices, or 57 herbs, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
But without that branding, if someone else ripped off and called it, something else, you're going to lose that brand affinity. And I'm sure there was a lot of protection when it came to Nathan's in terms of trademarking.
Oh, absolutely. There is no doubt there. Absolutely. So so now that you're on board and things are moving forward, and you got your team in place, and everybody's, I know you were drinking from the fire hose. I mean, there was a lot of stuff going on. Everyone's like, oh my God, what's this? And here we go. So now that everything's kind of, I don't want to say it's smooth sailing yet, but again, what's your, short-term goals here for the next, 1 to 3 years for ElevateIP?
Well, I think as I mentioned at the very beginning there, we're kind of in a transition phase right now, where we are going from our pilot, where we've been working with, we had about 177 companies come through the pilot. Not all of them made it through and are actively working, but my team has been very busy processing and working those entrepreneurs through the program to get them those supports so they can start protecting their IP with the strategy and then, implementation. And now, as we've moved into the fall, we have our full program that we're launching now in 2024. So, we did have some new team members join late last year. I had a new team member join up in Edmonton here this week. So we really now are up to full capacity, and we're moving forward to be able to work with all of the entrepreneurs that are currently engaged with us. And beyond that, our goal is to continue, working within the ecosystem, working with those accelerators, incubators, and entrepreneur support organizations to help them identify and send, refer companies over to our program when it makes sense. We're also, working within the ecosystem to understand who else is running workshops. How can we help amplify those? I know you mentioned Michael at Osler. I know they do a lot of workshops throughout the year. We want to add fuel to the fire and help support the work that they're doing, as well as all the other, Trevor and others that are supporting entrepreneurs in terms of that educational journey. So I think that those two things are really the big focuses for us. Get those applications processed. Let's get money flowing to the entrepreneurs to build those strategies and to protect that IP. And let's continue creating more awareness in the community and get more people talking about what's happening when it comes to intellectual property in their business.
No, I love that. I think that's a great next step, right? I mean, it's I'm excited for it. I've been excited about it since basically you're the one that told me about the program, and because it floated. I guess I don't want to say it's sad, but it floated around there for about 3 or 4 or 5 months. That I kind of like, and I think I go to a lot of events and places and do a lot of networking, and I hadn't even heard about it till you mentioned it to me. So I'm so happy that you're involved, and everybody from Adam at Innovate Calgary to that has brought this, and it's going to be so awesome for our ecosystem. And I'm always a little sad when our conversation comes to an end here, and I know you've been on before. You're a telling it like it is wily veteran. So But I sent you the question, but I'm putting a spin on it because I know you probably had lots of time to think about it. So now you don't. So it's more of an impulse answer here, which is what I want. So if you had one piece of advice for an entrepreneur startup regarding kicking off your IP, what would it be?
You know, it's never too early to start thinking about IP. And I think the thinking about IP is the key there. You know, it's not about filing patents early on, but it's thinking about IP, thinking and understanding, what am I doing? What am I building that I think is protectable, that I think is my key differentiator? And start thinking about strategies. You know, ElevateIP Alberta has some resources that we are making available, but there are many online resources that can help you start thinking about, you know, those first steps towards building your IP strategy. And every minute that you spend thinking about that is going to save you time when you actually go out and hire someone to build that full strategy for you. Because, you know, the first 20-25% of an IP strategy is all about you as a founder, looking at your business, thinking about your business, talking to your team, and understanding, you know, where are we going and what should I be protecting. So that would be my one piece of advice. You know, is just start thinking about it early on. Don't go out and spend money right away, though. Just educate yourself and learn so you understand sort of the terms of the game, and then go out and build your team and bring in those experts that can take it to completion.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Two things. Think about it early and don't spend too much money early.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
so
that's
good,
a great,
right?
that's the best way to summarize it, because yeah, you know, it
Absolutely.
is spending too much money early on often leads to the term that's out there, stranded IP. But really what it leads to is you file to protect something and then your business changes. You pivot, you shift your focus, and now you've got this asset that is worthless because you've invested to protect something that you're not using anymore. So
Yeah.
avoid those mistakes, but build the strategy first, because if you don't, you're just guessing. You're kind of shooting in the dark.
Yeah. And as we've talked about throughout this, I mean, going out there asking for help. There's people with knowledge. There's people that aren't going to say, "Hey, give me a $5,000 or give me $500 check and I'll help you." There's people that will say, "Hey, you know, do this. Maybe go talk to this person. Have a coffee with them. They'll give you some good advice on how to proceed and then go from there." So, you know, always remember that you know, we're a very collaborative ecosystem, and again, so many people out there that will help you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome. Like, again, Katie, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for, you know, taking this program, bringing, and I know you didn't create it, but bringing it to us and helping all of the communities and startups and founders, tech, non-tech, become aware of how they need to move forward with IP, because it's just something that we have lacked in our ecosystem. And I'm so excited about what's next.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to come on and share a little bit about what we're doing, because I think this is how it starts. These conversations and creating awareness that there are programs out there to support you is key. So yeah, really thank you, Jade, and thank you for not just this session with me here today, but you know, all that you do through telling it like it is and peer guidance to support the ecosystem. I think you've had many amazing guests on your show who talk about, you know, everything from, you know, mental health to investing to, you know, here today, intellectual property. And I think that itself helps build capacity in the ecosystem, helps connect entrepreneurs, and helps some of these great programs get talked about. So I'm honored to be here and to be able to talk about ElevateIP Alberta.
Oh, and thank you for the kind words. I enjoy it. People still watch, so it's good. And the rest of this month is going to be, I mean, God, we got Peter coming on with UC Maris with Life Sciences Hub. We got the Hunter Hub coming on, so it's a big Innovate Calgary UFC month to kick off, telling it like it is, and share all the great things they do for our ecosystem that maybe go unnoticed.
Amazing. Those are some big names. I'm honored to be able to be part of the January lineup.
And the kickoff of 2024, nonetheless.
I feel like I need like one of like a cannon with some confetti or something to do it up. But maybe next time. Next time.
I had a cleaning staff, and the cleaning staff wasn't named Jade Alberts. That would be a good idea to shoot one off right now. Awesome. All right, sir. Well, I'm looking forward to our next plate of nachos and beer at Mad Rose one day, and enjoy the rest of your day. And again, everybody, if they're looking for more information, the Elevate IP is in the comment section. The Empowering Innovators Financial Friction Mental Wellness course is also on there. Click on it to take you to the Eventbrite page. Again, Kev, thank you so much for your time today, and stay warm.
Thanks. You too.